Our next guest joining us to weigh in on the slate of geopolitical challenges ahead for the incoming Trump administration, including conflicts in the Middle East, Ukraine, tensions with China. Let's welcome Kay Bailey Hutchison, former U.S. ambassador to NATO, and former senator of Texas. And it's good to see you, Madam Ambassador, Senator. You've been a longtime friend of the show, so we can go with the, swing with the way your titles are going. What do you prefer, Ambassador, Senator?
Oh, Joe, hey, you is what I usually answer to.
Okay. Yeah, obviously from Texas. Everybody answers to that, I think.
We do.
You know what? When I said NATO, I immediately thought Ukraine. I immediately thought of everything that is happening there and whether the new president really has a chance, in your view, of doing something with Ukraine and Russia that's lasting. Is it possible he could come up with something, do you think?
Yes, I do. I respect General Kellogg. I think he has all of the right tools. I think it is important that we continue to support and work with Ukraine. They are a sovereign nation. President Putin from Russia has not acknowledged that. And I think we need to keep our word to Ukraine. We promised a long time ago that we would help Ukraine if they would give up their nuclear weapons. And we need to make good on that promise and allow Ukraine to function again.
Will Ukraine insist on being in NATO to come to some type of agreement? Would that ever be palatable to Putin?
Well, eventually, certainly, Ukraine is on the cusp of going into NATO. Ukraine, at this point, I think we're talking about a security agreement that would assure that when there is a settlement, when there is peace, when there is a negotiation, that Ukraine will have a security umbrella that would be with a coalition of the willing. It would be many NATO countries, including us, of course, but others as well, so that we know that Putin can never again invade this sovereign nation.
That's probably not going to satisfy Putin at this point. Do you think? I mean, he still wants something very specific, doesn't he? Like kind of a Belarus-style situation with Ukraine. He's expended a lot of money, a lot of casualties. I don't know whether he cares about political capital, but he's all in. And I don't know how he's going to, if he doesn't accomplish what he wants, I don't know why he'd stop.
Well, he's certainly made the case before Trump comes into office that he wants everything that he has invaded to be his. And that is exactly where we have to draw the line. I think we have an example in Europe, Kosovo, where there is a multilateral coalition that is trying to keep the peace. It's a NATO mission, but it is a coalition of the willing. And I think you could have something in these areas that would stop the bloodletting and allow them to come together in a place where these Donbass and Crimea have some security neutrality, and that then the rest of Ukraine can begin to be rebuilt with Russian money, by the way.